Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us at the South African Fashion Week's Meet the Name Behind the Label Zoom In. Before I would start, I would like to thank the Mall of Africa and Vodacom for their financial contribution. And if it wasn't for them, we would not have been able to do this broadcast. We would not be able to do this broadcast and give the designers the opportunity to show their 10 2020 collections to South African audience and to the world. As you know, we will be broadcasting the 2020 transitional collections from the 22nd to the 24th of October through CompuTicket. So you'll be able to buy your access card at CompuTicket. Today, we are talking to 12 of the 27 designers that are showing their collections at the South African Fashion Week. And you'll be able to meet the rest on the best of the rest on the 27th of October, which is next, 21st of October, which is next Wednesday. Before we get started, I'd like to just go through a few housekeeping rules. At any time during the webinar, you can send a message us, which you'll find at the bottom and in your chat box on your computer or on your phone. And what we will do is we will allow questions at the end. We'll see how we go, either at the end of each designer talking, or right at the end of the webinar. So just type your questions into the Q&A bottom at the bottom of the control panel. As time allows, then we will get the designers to answer as many questions as we can, because I'm sure you all have questions for the stars behind the labels. We'll be recording the session and we will be sending the link after the event. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Hangwani, the name behind Rubicon. Hangwani. Check your microphone. Your microphone's off, Hangwani. Yes, there you go.
Hello, are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Lucilla. Lovely to be with everyone on this webinar and to share our journeys in the fashion industry. I'm really, really excited to be on this platform because it's been really tough for everyone. We didn't know where we were gonna get to after, the lockdown, the hard lockdown that we had here in South Africa. But we're all here, and we're ready to share our stories and to tell you what really inspires our journeys in the business of fashion.
Thank you, Hangwani. Hangwani, you have been showing at Fashion Week for many years. What can we look forward to, or what inspired this collection that you are showing that on the 23rd of October?
I grew up in a province, in Venda, in a province called Limpopo. It's rich with with natural nature, and it's got so many indigenous, vegetation that has really inspired me, because I would immerse myself, obviously growing up in there, and that has really inspired me in my design process. Furthermore, within my lived experience, my grandfather obviously rewrote the history of Mapungubwe in Limpopo. And because of my close relations with him, I mean, he's really been like an anchor in my life. He's late now. So after he wrote that report on Mapungubwe, it was declared a World Heritage Site. And Mbeki, when he was obviously still the reigning president of South Africa, he awarded him with the National Orders Award. So I really have been paying homage to my grandfather with that richness of history of the Mapungubwe, such as the landscape of I'll bring that into the art form of how I interpret my design process. And also because my mom has been really so you know, she's really inspired me as well, because she's very glamorous, and she's got the same business that I'm in. I had to literally like formalize it, take it into the more business side of things. I grew up with my mom, very glamorous, having hair on my back, but working, but looking so glam. And yeah, and I grew up reading, seeing books, magazines, publications such as Vogue magazines in Venda, you know, in that area. I was born in 1976. I can share that with everyone. I'm not ashamed of that. And yeah, so inspired from the likes of my mother and my grandfather, you know, obviously is the academia side now, bringing in the, you know, the fashion side of things. I started stitching at a young age of 7 years old, you know, helping my mother. So I've been really have been exposed to the industry from a young age. And I love to create things. I love to be innovative. And the current collection is inspired, it's paying homage to my mom, because she's really influenced me highly, highly in the industry. And I've gone back to her old prints, like her vintage prints. I've brought them in as such as in dye sublimation. I've brought those prints back, and I've got obviously the different versions of the color patterns that I've used in the process. And it's really, really vibrant. I've brought vibrance into it. I'm very excited. I've created a t-shirt with hair on my back. It's not, it's something that I think it's long overdue. And I've brought in the title of my grandfather's research called Myth of Origin, because I feel like the history that we've got on us, some of it really is, it's not really, we don't really have facts. As he has said, it was like, you know, it's not really recorded history. It's what he was, when he was doing his research, when he would interview people.
Thank you. Hangwani, yes, you have a really, really rich heritage. And we really appreciate the journey that you've taken us on. Thank you very, very much. Now, a designer that is very outspoken, a designer that specializes in prints, Palesa Mokubung. Palesa, tell us about the Palesa behind Mancho. You need to take your microphone off.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so you can hear me now. Okay, there. Thank you so much, everyone. We live in such exciting times. I figure COVID was a blessing in disguise. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this webinar. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So my name is Palesa Mokubung. I was born in the Free State. I come from a very small family. I've got one brother who is a graphic designer. And my mom is, just hold on. The little one just walked in. I'm gonna get another room, guys. Just give me a second.
Had a little baby.
I have a 1-year-old, guys.
Exactly.
I'm a new mom there. I'm in a different room now. There we go. So
Run away.
I've got a brother. I come from a very creative background. I've got many uncles. I've got 2 sets of uncles who are twins. Everybody is a creative in my family. We've got creatives, and then we've got educators, and then we've got nurses in my family. So design seemed like a natural sort of course to take when I finished matric. And my brother and I have been working very closely together in creating the look and the feel of the Mantu brand, and really just breathing life into it. And Mantu has become my label is called Mantu. Mantu means beautifully black or brutally black. It was a term of endearment for me when I was growing up, because I was a pretty dark baby, which I did not enjoy at the time, but I've grown to love it and really embrace it, and have taught a lot of my sisters in South Africa and in the continent to just love, just love themselves the way they are, and I'm able to, through, I think, God-given talents, just translate my feelings and my emotions into clothes. I design really from the heart. I am easily inspired, but I think that the winning formula for me is my ability to follow my instincts and to really listen to what is in my heart, and then to find the best fabric and the best prints and the best colors and to tell that story. But one of my biggest achievements, of course, has been being the first designer to collaborate with the giant retailer H&M last year in 2019, and thereafter followed many achievements which in my opinion were long overdue, because I have been in the industry for a really long time and have sort of carved a unique place for myself and my clients, I've got a very specific voice and a very and a voice that a lot of women want to hear, because my clothes are clothes that you can live in and wear every day. But I'm also, but you can also find a Mansu, red carpet look to, for yourself. So it is really, Mansu is really more of an attitude that a woman carries or can carry when they wear a Mansu garment. And the Fashion Week has really given me the platform to understand that and to keep refining that story.
Thank you, Palesa. There's a question that came through from Kwanda Selisho, and it says, did lockdown affect your thought process or work process or inspiration in any way, or was your focus when creating and designing more on the post-lockdown and the post-coronavirus world? From Kay, from the Citizen newspaper.
I think that it would not be natural of us to not think back in order to move forward, especially right now. So obviously we're creating garments that are just as comfortable, or garments that the garments we're creating now have to feel just as comfortable as we did when we were in the lockdown. But we also cannot forget what we were busy with prior to the lockdown. So we're trying to fuse whatever projects we were busy with, trying to sort of evolve them into and sort of catch up with the future. So I found that lockdown has been, yes, a blessing in disguise, but also when it comes to my creative energy, I find that it has led me into, I guess, places that I've started thinking more about why people wanted my clothes to begin with, and started, and maybe somewhere along the line, you kind of forget that when you're busy with the business, when you're too into it. You forget why people want to buy clothes. And I think lockdown made me remember why people want to buy clothes. Where are they going after the lockdown? Why do they want to buy my clothes? Why are people buying my clothes while they are sitting at home and not going anywhere? It means that they really love, either my offering or my story or what I stand for, or I don't know, the communication I guess I have with them through social media and whatever garments they have. So it is an ongoing conversation. I cannot, I'm evolving as we speak. I think next week I'll have new ideas about how to move forward.
Yeah, I think one thing about the designers, to me, is are the new ideas, that the innovation that comes through on all levels. We now go to a brand that focuses on the development of a holistic curated lifestyle. Helen Mellon. Helen Mellon is based in Cape Town. Helen, over to you. You've got to turn your microphones on. Please turn microphones on when you speak.
Done. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lucilla, and thank you to everybody who's joined in. My name is Helen Gibbs. I run a brand called Helen Mellon. We've been going since late 1995. So we've had lots of time to earn our stripes and experiment and explore. One of my initial strengths was actually making bed linen. So I do get great pleasure out of making clothing opposed to making bed linen, because the bed linen takes these massive pieces of fabric. And when I think back at day after day, how long it took to cut individually, I just love the idea that I make clothing now. It's so rewarding.
Helen, you do the whole package, so you don't just do clothing. Please tell us about it, and tell us about your beliefs on sustainability.
So, so essentially I'm a designer, which is quite a broad sort of statement to make. I love design, so it won't only be based on fashion. If I make a dress, for instance, I'd like to see a pair of shoes that goes with the dress, the jewelry that goes with it, a handbag, and all the accessories. So I do land up designing absolutely everything that would go with a garment. Only because, I never want to dictate my style onto anybody. So it's anybody's free reign to choose whether they'd like the whole range, to be worn together. But everything can be worn so comfortably on its own with, whatever your taste is. Sustainability is quite an important point for me. I've always tried my utmost to purchase local. We are getting better at it. There are a few mills in South Africa who have a pretty good offering now. Their offering has improved. It's a little bit more expensive than what we're getting at imported prices, but it's there. It is available. And I think the more we start supporting the local suppliers, the better the pricing will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I work solely with natural fibers. The thought of a garment lasting somebody 6 months and being thrown away or passed down just doesn't work for me. I like to know that my garments can last from 10 to 20 years. That's why I'll never over-design anything. My design style will always be quite classic, so that, in 10 years' time, you can still wear the same dress and feel just as good in that dress. And the fabrics that I choose very carefully, very tightly woven cottons, very fine cottons. My linens are amazing. The linens at the moment are still being imported from Lithuania, but they're of a very, very high quality. And I know confidently that, sustainability as far as lasting and as far as design goes, I'm good at by now. Even the bed linen side, people phone me and they say, I've had a duvet cover for 24 years. And the worst thing about it is it still looks amazing. I'm like, well, that is what I do. That's my speciality. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Helen, you've got a store in Cape Town. Where is your store?
I have a shop in the Watershed in Cape Town, which is along Dock Road, right next to the aquarium. That shop is a great venue for both locals and internationals to shop. And at the moment, we're focusing very much on our local market because of COVID, which is going to hamper us for quite some time. But we have lots of happy South Africans coming to the Watershed.
Yes, I think it's fantastic. And I think that this is really an opportunity for the South African designers to hone in on the local the consumers. That is really going to be our future, and the relationships we form now, I believe, is going to be very, very important relationships. I would like to now introduce you to Jacques Bam. Jacques Bam was a finalist in the New Talent Search last year. He very interesting, Jacques. It says that the Bam Collective is a South African women's wear brand that specializes in taking an alternative, spirited approach to fashion. Can you tell us about that? And then can you tell us about this collection that you've just created, that is this beautiful fairy tale collection?
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. My name's Jacques. I am the owner and creative director of a small women's wear brand called The Bum Collective. We are currently based in Centurion in South Africa. My brand is all about people. I love people. I've always been quite a social person. I enjoy speaking to people and meeting new people. And that's really what I started to base my brand around, is this idea of people and talking to people and listening to people's stories and evaluating how people are feeling. I really love people watching as well. So in the end, with my brand, what I always try to do is I try to capture our South African spirit. I think we have such a unique spirit, and I think we are such joyous people, and it's really something that I always try to reflect in my clothing, something that's very joyous and very spirited. And I think that clothing is so personal. We wear clothing every single day, and if you can use clothing to lift your mood, I think your day would be so much better. So I always look at creating smiles through clothing, I like to say. For our new range is called Meliorism, which is a philosophy that states, or a philosophy that believes that the world can be made better through human effort. Is something that I've really started to think about during lockdown. I originally designed the collection at the end of last year, with the intent of showing it in April, but due to the lockdown, I postponed that, and I really reevaluated the whole collection. And in the end, the collection grew quite naturally into something that's really quite a meditation on a lot of thoughts and feelings that I had during this time, and a lot of thoughts and feelings that I think that other people had during this time. It references a lot of events that have changed, like weddings and funerals, and it looks at the rise of casual wear and the rise of leisure wear. And in the end, my goal with this collection was just to design something that could put a few smiles back on people's faces, especially in a time where I think we can really do with his few smiles right now.
Jacques, tell us about your model selection and your reason behind going that route.
So another thing that I really thought about during lockdown is the idea of inclusivity, myself being part of the LGBTQ community, and really thinking about how lucky we are that we live in a country like South Africa, where we have a lot of rights that other people in other parts of the world don't necessarily have, and the fact that we should celebrate that, and we should use our platforms to showcase the diverse range of people that we have in South Africa. So in the end, I decided to cast some extra individuals in my fashion show, specifically genderqueer, non-binary, trans individuals, and individuals from the LGBTQ community, because I just really wanted to use my platform and the fact that we are doing something new, doing a digital fashion week, to really celebrate the idea of diversity and inclusivity.
There's a question that came through from Sophia, disrupting culture and pushing culture forward through fashion. What are the new narratives that would disrupt on a local and a global level? Is there anybody that can answer us, would like to answer this?
Low. Shit.
Effiemol, hi Effiemol, you've just arrived. Effiemol has just arrived. So I'm just going to repeat again, and maybe Helen, you want to answer this. It says disrupting culture and pushing culture forward through fashion. What are the new narratives and that would, what are the new narratives that would disrupt on a local and on a global level? I would also like, so I'm going to Helen Mellon, and then I would like Oscar to answer that question. So Helen Mellon, your thoughts on this, disrupting culture?
I'm quite stumped here, to be very honest. My design is always very clean and very classic. So I don't really add any culture. I like to design where I'm not dictating anything to anybody. Your interpretation of my fashion is going to be entirely up to you. So for me to push any sort of agendas wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. And Oscar from Chiefs of Angels. Oscar, what are your thoughts on that?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. immediately my mind went into the what it means to be an African designer or like a Black designer. I think that we could work on disrupting the industry in sort of like realigning the notion of what it means to be an African or Black designer. We could do more with prints. We've inherited certain sort of like African prints that have been that we found in the industry, or we found in the clothing market. If we could actually look at pushing that further, or allowing ourselves to be influenced by world culture, by other cultures internationally. What it means to be an African designer doesn't always mean that you have to use certain prints or certain silhouettes and styles. So I think we could just allow ourselves to broaden the idea of what it means to have to be inspired by the world and not just by our immediate surroundings, which is what people expect from an African designer. Only be inspired by what's going on immediately around you in Africa. I think we should be allowed to look at the world as also a mood board for clothes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Neo from Blank, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Lucilla. I hope everybody can hear me. So disrupting culture is what I believe Blank, my brand, actually stands for. And the new narratives that I see being pushed out would be empowerment in every level. I think with everything that happened this year, there's a new form of expressing empowerment. The one example I can think of at the top of my head that everybody here knows about is Beyonce's Black is King, her visual album. So she gave a message through her art, and I feel that that's what we as designers also do, that there's this new form of protest that doesn't just happen through social media hashtags and all of that, but it also happens through the clothing that we put out, what we put on our what we put on t-shirts, how we name ourselves. So I believe that the new narratives come out of sort of pushing a spirit of excellence to give a certain narrative. Like Jacques was talking about his stance on, the LGBTQ community, and how he used his brand to sort of, give a voice to that. And I think that that's what each and every one of us are doing, that, whether we're aware of it or not, that we are actually expressing and sort of, protesting for what we believe in through our clothing.
Thank you. Thank you, Naya. Our next designer that I'd like to introduce to you is a husband and wife team, Chad and Erin Lee Peterson, and they have a fantastic label called Research Unit. Erin Lee, would you like to take us through your label, where you're from, and also your thoughts on sustainability and in general, just your thoughts?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm sitting in the car. Sorry. Had to fetch little one from school, and you know how it goes. Research Unit is a husband and wife team. My husband's not here with me right now. We are partners together. Both of us design, both of us handle finance, marketing, almost everything. And initially we started about 7 years ago designing and manufacturing all of the accessories that we make, from backpacks to really high-end handbags, leather handbags, specifically focusing on quality that can compete with the rest of the world. And just recently, through Fashion Week, we launched our ready-to-wear collection, still on the same level as our accessories. So what we wanted to do was, with making travel accessories, we wanted to launch a high-end travel clothing ready-to-wear brand that could complement the accessories. And then also obviously with that comes with the sustainability and everything else. With this, I just want to touch on the disruption part, and I just wanted to, I didn't know how to put up my hand or anything like that. But with this particular collection, we like Blank, the designer from Blank, she said that empowerment is a big thing. It's a huge thing. We believe that the one of the biggest things about sustainability is so that you can empower a community. And for the past 7 years, sustainability wasn't really a word for us, but it was always a thing. So it was always something that we wanted to, we learned everything that we know, from hand stitching to edge beveling to everything in the leather industry, on YouTube or through YouTube, 5,000-6,000 videos later. And we taught that we taught that to people who were disadvantaged and never had the skills to learn. Today, we sit with a few artisans in our workshop, and we still work with empowering communities. And to touch on the design part of this collection that we just or that we're launching with South African Fashion Week, was that with the communities that we worked with hand beaters, we worked with hand weavers, we worked with raffia weavers, we worked with little cotton weavers, we worked with Barrydale weavers, we worked with all the different communities. And we really, in order to push the boundaries globally and locally, you need to work with those communities and really just take those talents that are spewing out of South Africa and push the boundary and make it better. So you make it better by making it more sustainable. So what we did, for an example, was we took a hand-woven in Barrydale scarf, which is hand-woven there, and we converted that into a shorts which a younger person can wear as opposed to an older person. So we really just wanted to push the boundaries again with hand beading. Our whole thing was that hand beading could look, it comes across as cultural, and it comes across as different print or African print. We took ours and we make it more digital. So that it can really push the boundaries, and the international audience can see, okay, cool. So this is actually not the normal African print you would get, but it is very different. So we tried to push that, and we also just tried to transform, especially after COVID, we needed to transform our business. And we pushed a lot of different formats within this collection, and we tried to transform it as much as we could. So there's, for instance, you will see in the collection, there's touches of Morse code, which speaks about COVID in the collection, which really just has a code that you need to go and figure out on your own. So there's a lot of language and speaking and working it out. There's always a story behind our brand. There's always been a story behind the brand, and even more, and we'll keep pushing that boundaries of having a story behind the brand.
Thank you, Erin Lee. Thank you. And yes, their label is an absolute fantastic. The collection really looked amazing with everything showing exactly what they do. Next is a designer that has been showing at Fashion Week since 2002, Effiemol. He's Ephraim Molengwana. He has really had a great journey in becoming a designer, and he works from the city center in Johannesburg. So Effiemol, over to you. Effie, where has he gone to? Effiemol, I think we have lost him. So until he gets back, let's move to Chiefs of Angels. So you've heard Oscar. Oscar is working from a fantastic space in Johannesburg called Victoria Yards. Oscar, maybe you can tell us something about your label, your collection, and the space that you're working in. Oscar.
Hello, my name is Oscar Andile Mube. I'm a Zimbabwean-born, self-taught fashion designer. I'm working in Johannesburg at the moment, the neighborhood called Lawrenceville, a little creative community of Victoria Yards. Very nice creative community here, and actually it's a lovely space to work in because everybody here kind of like has the same sort of ethos of how to work and sustainability, and it's nice to have to work within a creative hub. I don't know if most of the designers have creative hubs in the immediate working space. I've got that, and that's very nice. It's a very nice thing to have. My brand is firmly and very, very much focused on sustainability, slow fashion. Namely, the way we go about it is upcycling. So the symbol of our brand is a vulture. And why I'm telling you about this is because we have very much the same sort of like ethos and way of working or feeding as a vulture does. Because a vulture is a carnivorous bird, it does not kill for its meat. It waits for Mother Nature to naturally give it what it needs to feed. And that's kind of like how we work also. And we have adopted it as a symbol of our brand. We do not really use brand new leather. We wait for you to throw away your piece of old leather, and then we pounce on it, and we buy that, and we repurpose that and recycle that. All our leather jackets are made from old vintage pants. We use old denim to make new styles. We buy a lot of rock and roll t-shirts and create other new garments from it by distressing and creating other silhouettes using that kind of dead stock fabric and styles. So basically, our whole premise of why we exist in fashion is actually to address the ills of fashion. And we all know our industry is like very notorious for pollution, and we're actually number 2 to oil in the world in terms of not being environmentally friendly. So, and we love fashion, we love newness. So how can we take part in this industry without adding as much as we can, without adding to the ills of the industry, and still provide ourselves with newness and excitement? So we've taken an approach to actually try and still feed the need for newness and excitement, and without actually at the same time trying to right the wrongs of the past of this industry.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Oscar. Great. I see Effiemol is back on. Effiemol. So Effiemol showed his first collection, I'll just repeat, in 2002 at the South African Fashion Week. He's had a fantastic journey, and Effiemol, he's based at in town, in the center of the town, which, by the way, is completely amazing, the center of town in Johannesburg. Effiemol, please take everybody through your label and where you based.
Hello, everybody. Hi, can everybody see me?
Yes, everybody can see you.
My apology for being in and out of this technical cliche. When I started, I was a model. And 2002, when I had to retire as a model, Lucilla and, I remember vividly, Lucilla and Dion Chang, they set me aside. They said, start your own line. I was like, what? They said, you've got amazing talent. You are great. I didn't see that in me. I was just a model and a stylist and blah, blah, blah. And then my first collection started. I remember very well. It was very pink and black. We called it Pink Panther. And I think I was one of the first designers at that time who started more like utilizing which is called now vendor cloth. Like very stripes and all that. It was very bright, very bold collection. And I think it just signifies the person I am. I like being out there. I like being very interactive with different patterns. So I like patterns. I've been doing patterns on patterns. I've been like very adventurous when coming to creating sort of like a different collections all the time. Yes, I've seen Effiemol, which is my brand, going from strength to strength. I've never been to school of fashion. Let me just put that up front. I started from the streets. I learned fashion from the streets. I sat down with my tailors and they taught me quite a lot. And I learned from other designers, the likes of Tula Cindy, my friend, and the likes of various designers I interacted with, and I learned a lot from them, from even stylists, other stylists. I learned how to do things, and so we've been going through from then until now, and I've seen my ups and downs in the industry, and I must say, people who just come from colleges and who just come from privileged, privileged backgrounds, it might be easy for them because sometimes they get quite a lot of things on the forte. And so if you are really a designer of note like me, who just come from that era of not having quite qualifications to be in the industry, there's always a big question mark on you all the time about. So then I had to prove myself a lot to a lot of whether it's magazines, whether it's a fashion journalist, whether it's anybody in the industry who's who and who. And I remember very well, even when I started being introduced into the world of fashion to different media. Some media called me designer inverted commas. It was a bit painful because I've paved my way. I've done my fair share, but I must say I've proved myself beyond that. I can sustain in the industry and still grow. Even today, I'm still learning. I've seen myself going to different parts of the world, showcasing in the different parts of the world. Shanghai. I went to, I remember not long ago, 2009. We went to Paris with Clive Randall, and we were chosen by the Parisian School of Fashion. And then we are only one of the few people who had that kind of opportunity, And for me, it was cementing that really did what I'm doing in the industry. It's giving a very much, how can I say, I've been looked at, like I've been marked, like I'm not just a name, but there's something, there's huge potential in what I'm doing. So I've been based in the city all my life. I've never been out of the city, and I love the city life so much because it gives me so much creativity. It actually gives me so much life, and I've used different methods of marketing. I did different methods of checking my kind of clientele. I'll go. I know that Lucilla love this one. I'll go to taxi ranks. I go to ask people before I do a collection, can they wear this kind of garment? What do you think of the print? Can this be on a daily basis work? So I basically go. I'm a go-getter. I touch and go, and I never say I've been in the industry forever. I always say I'm new in the industry because I learn every day of my life, and I involved a lot of youngsters to come in to work with me, to do a lot of interns with me. I've got interns that comes year in, year out. Some they've started their own studios. Some they're starting their own things. They're doing their own things out there. So whether it's models, I scout some models as well. And then some they've done big shows with SA Fashion Week. They've showcased with Fashion Week as models. And then I've started some of them. I look at and introduce them to the agencies. So really, I would just say I'm just an all-round designer who can just see potential, like the potential was seen in me.
Thank you, Effie. Really, thank you.
Thank you.
From Cape Town, we've got a designer that really, really embraces slow fashion, art club and friends. And I'd like to introduce you to Robin. Robin?
Hi, Lucilla. Thank you so much for the introduction. So my name is Robin. If you don't know me, I'm the designer and founder of a brand called Art Club and Friends. We're based in Cape Town, but as we grow, we work with a lot of artisans around the country. I think I'm learning more and more that what I'm really passionate about is finding people who are just creative geniuses and finding ways to use our brand to just grow what they do. One of those people is, if you watch the show, you'll see our new collection of shoes that we're launching, and those are handmade in Joburg, as well as our accessories, which are made by our friends at Research Unit, Erin, who spoke earlier. So that's something that's really cool about our brand. And I think in relation to the question earlier about like what disrupting culture, I think for me, something that I've really been fighting is, like, I think as creators, we often taught, and I think this is quite a Western thing. I don't think it's an African or South African idea of like protecting your resources and not sharing where things are made and how they're made and who makes them. And I've seen, like, in a lot of South African brands, it's so like entrenched in who we are. We actually struggle to hide the behind the scenes of what we do. That's our story, right? So yeah, that's who we are. We're a unisex brand. We don't gender any of our pieces, for many reasons, but also because I think it just puts a lot of our customers in boxes, and that's not what I'm here to do. It's only our second time showing at Fashion Week, and we just had so much fun. It was after such a creatively stunted year. It was really nice to just get out of the door and start designing again. So yeah, that's who I am.
Thank you. And I must say that Robin really is the queen of collaboration, because she also collaborates with musicians and you know, sort of the whole spectrum, which is really very fantastic. And I think, yes, in South Africa we do need to share our knowledge, and we do need to share, put spotlights on the people behind the scenes, you know, people like Vuyo or Vuya in Cape Town, that's a knitter, or a Cowgirl Blues, or whoever is working for you. They will do different things for different designers, because obviously you inspire them. So there's no need to be protective of the supplies at the moment in South Africa, and I really value the designers that are open to that. My next designer is a designer from Soweto, Neo from Blank. You've all listened to her voice and her ideas on disruption. Neo.
Hi everyone. Once again, my name is Neo Rangaka, and like Lucilla mentioned, I'm from Soweto. I grew up in Soweto, but my parents are from Rustenburg. And yeah, so Blank is all about telling the African story. You know, we call ourselves Africa's blank canvas, and everything that we do is just about showing the empowerment of Africans. You know, there just seems to be this false narrative about Africans that is centered around lack or poverty, and what we aim to do is just tell the real story about Africans, that, you know, we have so much richness, we have so much depth, and you know, I think we sort of underestimate ourselves sometimes, and you know, it's something that I've learned not to do. And as I learn to be more confident in who I am as an African, I share that with the world, and, you know, pick up on what we as a continent are learning and sharing that with the world as well.
Thank you, Neo. Let's go to By Parel. So By Parel, Shailene was the winner of the Scouting Menswear last season and this last year. And this season, you're going to see her first collection, her first grown-up collection. So yes, very, very interesting. By Parel. I don't see her. by apparel? No? Okay, let's move to a Cameroonian-born, third-generation trained fashion designer, Fabrice Moyo, and he launched his Frank Ellis brand in 2003. He also works from the city center in Johannesburg. So, Fabrice, over to you. Your microphone. Please turn your microphone on. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Lucilla, and hello to all my colleagues. And I'm really happy to be part of this family. And I'm sure you can see the excitement on my face and how I've been nodding, listening to my colleague's story. Everybody come with an incredible story. Mine is quite simple, just as you introduced me. I'm a third generation trained fashion designer, and the fourth generation is already on the way. So fashion for me is more, almost chose me. I didn't choose fashion. So it was the easiest thing to me to do. And I'm assuming it's also coming natural to my son and daughter. I'm a single dad and I raised my daughter for the last 10 years by myself. And everything that I do in fashion revolves around my feeling, my emotion, my family, my kids. I'm usually very inspired by the colonial military gear and how that influenced the fashion landscape in Africa. But this year, due to the COVID, it was a bit different because I found myself in a situation where there was so much uncertainty and I didn't really know what the future of fashion was going to be. But I asked myself one question: what will I want for myself tomorrow? Immediately, I had a feeling that what I want for myself is probably what my customer want for themselves, is the ability to go back on the street and look nice. And that's where generally my fashion, that's where I could summarize my fashion, my collection in 3 simple words, which is the nostalgia that most of the people who are fashion lovers are feeling right now. I'm sure most people here at home and everywhere else in the world want to get back on the street and still look chic and still look good, you know. And that you're going to see that into my collection, that you're going to see that into my collection. That is reflected by the vibrance and color, the enhanced brilliance in the color palette. And the other thing that is so anchored into my collection is the resourcefulness. And lastly, the resilience. I know that as African, we are resilient people. And we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot, a turbulent history. And I think that COVID is just one of the things that's going to pass because we are resilient. In South Africa, every day we live through major drama, and that resiliency will also help us during COVID. Resourcefulness for me in the collection is because suddenly we found ourselves locked down. We cannot import any fabrication. What meant is that we have to use whatever is around us to achieve our next goal. And that is reflected into my collection, is that I use, I didn't worry about having to look for things that I couldn't get. I focused in fabrication that was around me, and that you're gonna see that reflecting in my collection. But most importantly, what you must look at in my collection, the collection starts with garments that are very colorful, that flow through, one color flow very well through the other. And then as the collection goes, you're gonna see a certain disruption into the color palette. And that was also my mood. Every day that I went to work working on a piece, I was in a very different mood every day during the time that I was designing the collection. And I didn't want it, and I wanted the collection to reflect my feeling of it at the time, what I would have loved to myself, and what I look for, what I would like to see in the future. And yeah, mainly that, and like I said, Lucilla, you just see that I'm a third generation fashion designer. My brand itself is anchored around that, because Frankelis is basically the name of my mother and father. So that's what Frankelis is about. My mother is Françoise and my dad is Elie. My mother herself worked in the fashion industry as a seamstress and a designer. My grandfather from the mother side was a textile weaver. So all my collection and my brand is anchored around my family. And I think that's the most important thing you need to know about the brand for now.
Thank you. And I want to really thank everybody for sharing just very personal thoughts about yourselves. And it helps us. And I mean, I know that I know all of you really well, but you know, it's fantastic to just hear these little things that you have not previously shared. Our next collection is a collection that has been done in collaboration with the South African Mohair cluster. And it is incredible what the designers have come up with. It's incredible to see how they've used mohair in their collections. And one of the designers that are here today is a designer that is a Cape Town-based designer. She is absolutely an incredible business woman, and I'd like to introduce you to Judith. Judith from Judith Atalia.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in today, and thanks Lucilla for the opportunity. The Judith Atalia brand started in 2014. I was in Cape Town working after studying I graduated in 2011. Then I worked for a few years, gained experience. 2014, I started. So I was in Cape Town. Then I decided to move back to my hometown. I lived here until I was, from when I was 6, and I'm still living here. It's a small, it's in a small valley near the Witzenberg. We are in the Witzenberg area near Ceres. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. So it's a small community, and I'm very proud to be in the situation to be situated here and have this business and do what I love every day. I think it's absolutely a privilege. And all the ladies that are working in the studio, they are locals from the little town that we live in. They didn't have a clue, so I just decided, let's do this. I want to empower them. I want to learn with them. And today, it's about 7 years later. I'm just so proud to be where we are. And it's a big goal for me as a designer to empower women in the community. And I must say, my machinists, they are my, I learn from them so much, and they empower me as a designer. And for the collection that we did now, our 2021 collection, which we'll show with SA Fashion Week, the collection is called I Am Because We Are. So that's the whole thing that I must say the label builds collections on, to empower the women, to empower communities, because what we put in here at the studio goes out to their families, the community that they live in. And yeah, I'm very fond of family also, and how I project onto them. And I also actually just wanted to add, I inherited the Judith name from my grandmother, so which I learned from so much. So yeah, it's just, I'm building on family and community and how to empower women. Yeah, so that's my story in a little nut.
Thank you, Judith. You know, I am always really inspired by the diversity in South Africa, the diversity of the designers. And I believe, like Bishop Tutu once said, our strength in South Africa sits in our diversity. And the South African Fashion Week has always celebrated that diversity. And I don't think I can ever be without that diversity. So I'd like to thank all the designers for sharing your stories. I would like just to read a comment from Sophia. Sophia, she says, such a joy to get to know some creators from the South African fashion community. Thank you all for sharing a snapshot of your vision and personal stories here. Looking forward to see your collections. Keep shining on your journeys. So isn't that a fantastic sort of comment coming from Germany? And then I would just like to mention that all these designer shows can be seen through CompuTicket from the 22nd to the 24th. And the program is on our website. Go and visit it and share with us. Share the designer collections. Make sure you go and not just share it, buy it, wear it, talk it, and just let us get these beautiful stories out there. You can all play a role in the development of the creative fashion industry in South Africa. Thank you very much. We will let all our audience go before the panel leaves. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So let's just go. Thank you. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you very much. It was great. Thank you. Loved it. Everybody, the comments are saying fantastic. So thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye. Your collections are looking beautiful. Beautiful.